All right, a very good morning to you. It is the 20th day of July 2020. My name is Sylvia Ishebe, and today on Youth Assembly, we'll be looking at how Nigerian youths can hold their leaders to account. Now, in the light of the recent investigation into the allegations of corruption in the NDDC and EFCC, the issue of corruption among Nigerian leaders in government has been brought once again to the fore of national discourse. According to the United Nations, every year $1 trillion is paid in bribes, while an estimated $2.6 trillion are stolen annually through corruption, a sum equivalent to more than 5% of the global GDP. Now, according also to the United Nations Development Program, funds lost to corruption are estimated at 10 times the amount of the official development assistance. Corruption is a serious crime that can undermine social and economical development in every society. Now, these days it's also common to hear Nigerian youth complain about how corruption has denied them of life opportunities and amenities that could make their lives better. Now, today on Youth Assembly, we'll be looking at how Nigerian youths can hold their leaders to account. That is our focus. And I have today with me, joining me online, Mr. Abdullah El Amin. He is a public affairs commentator. Welcome, Mr. Abdullah.
Thank you very much.
And also Mr. Mukhtar Halilu. He is a community engagement officer at Connected Development. Welcome, Mr. Halilu.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so with the recent and serious allegations of corruption leveled against some political appointees at the EFCC and the NDDC, talking about the chairman and the MD, what do you think might be the cause of this, seeing it coming out to the public at this time of the year? Yes, Abdullah, Mr. Abdullah, you can go ahead with this question.
Okay, I think the major reason why we're seeing this happen in Nigeria up till this moment, despite the fact that the government campaigned on anti-corruption and largely they were voted into power because of their promises that they would strangulate corruption to its death, is because of impunity. When the president came on board, there was this general and instant fear. Almost everybody sat up. Everybody was conscious of what they do. People were afraid of being caught in the web of corruption. But as time went by, people started realizing that it is just the same thing that has always happened in Nigeria. Nothing has changed. In fact, I used to tell my friends that the difference between the corruption of today and the corruption of the PDP era is that during the PDP time, there were more people that were benefiting from the corruption than we have now. Right now, there are very few people who cage themselves, who they find a way to create this secrecy and a close group of people that benefit from the corruption, and then they pretend that they don't do it. But the quantum of money that these guys loot on a daily basis is mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah.
What you are seeing in NDDC is just a tip of the iceberg. If the president will actually put a torchlight in every ministry, department, and agency of Nigeria today, we are going to witness bigger and a more elaborate corruption that we have ever seen in the history of this country. And it is all because of impunity. People have tested the president's patience. They have tested the president's resolve. They realize that the president is not going to do anything differently from what was done before. And so they say, okay, if it is business as usual, let's continue. But let's not make the mistake of the past. The mistake of the past was a lot of people were engaged in corruption. So it became a global information, a global thing. Everybody knew that there was this open corruption in Nigeria. So the noise was too much. But if we can keep a close group of people that would benefit from this corruption, then we may just get away with it. And that is what they have been doing. Corruption has not stopped in Nigeria. It is going on unabated. And unfortunately, the president seems to be overwhelmed by it. I do not know the president personally. I have never spoken to him, but I know that the president is shocked by the revelations that are coming out now. And I want to tell the president, if he has a way of listening to me, that whatever he has seen or heard so far, it is just a tip of the iceberg. We that coexist with these people, we know that the corruption of today is not any different from the corruption of the PDP era. So we need to do something about it.
We'll get to talk more on that. But Mr. Mukhtar Halilu, your expression seems different from what you're saying. Let us hear your thoughts on what he has said so far in respect to why the rise in corruption in Nigeria.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely.
All right. My point is, I will align myself with almost most of what he has said. The fundamental problems of what we're facing in this country is when you get to compromise quality for quantity. Now, what really happened to us was we compromised the quantity of what we have to the quality. We compromise the quality to quantity. Now he made mention of something that the chain of the corruption is what is being limited. So what I'm trying to say here is what we do is we track basic education, basic health, water, and sanitation. And you brought issues around NDDC. If you're talking about just NDDC, I was reading a news about the NDDC. NDDC said they spent 81.5 billion naira in 8 months, not in 7 months. You understand? An agency of government that will spend that huge amount without one single project you will pinpoint. That is to say that there is a much issue around it. Now, take a look and see what is happening on the Transparency International rating of corruption. What number are we in last year? What number will we be in this year? You understand? So the problem is we're getting in this is 21st century. We've not had the kind of issue we're having in the 20th centuries. Because, have you ever had in the 20th century that snakes swallow money or monkey swallows money? You understand? I'm not trying to be whatsoever, but if you tear that snake or tear the monkey, you don't see the money. So what we're saying here is the corruption is there. The main thing we need to stand up and fight is not just the corruption, but the corruption of the mind, the corruption of the hand, corruption of everything. So the only thing the government is doing presently now is trying to say we are fighting corruption. How are they fighting corruption? The only thing they are doing is reducing the chain of the movement when it comes to the corruption. And one funny thing is for citizens to hold government accountable, you need adequate information.
Okay,
and
well, what information you're talking about? Okay, so one of the information that have come to light is, you just mentioned the 82.5 billion naira in 6 months, from January to May, 6-7 months. So, and the breakdown is something that people should actually look at. This is one information. It says community relation, 1.3 billion, condolences, 122.9 million, then COVID-19, 31.4 billion naira, DCA 486 million, Impress 790.9 million, Lassa Fever 1.956 billion naira, and so on and so forth. And some Nigerians, you see on social media, they're blaming the leaders themselves, the people that they have put in power, that they've appointed, as the cause of the problem in the rise in corruption at this point. How do you think our leaders can structure correctly and how youth can hold them accountable at this time? Mr. Abdullah, you can go ahead and answer.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Unfortunately, the youth are actually the people or the group of people that help these leaders get into office. If you look at the population of Nigeria today, the youth, now if we say the youth, by United Nations Charter, they are people between the ages of 15 to 24. In Nigeria, when you are above 30, the National Youth Service Corps will not mobilize you for National Youth Service Scheme. So which means the youth is a group of people between the ages of 15 to 30. These are the group of people that have the highest number in Nigeria. The voting power of this group is nothing to belittle. Unfortunately, if you observe elections in Nigeria, you will realize that the ballot box snatching, the thuggery, the violence are all perpetrated by the youth just to get somebody into power. Over how much? Peanuts. Once the person gets into power, the same youth will now come on social media calling them names. If you tell the youth, don't collect money, vote the right people, they'll be looking at you as if you are saying, maybe you are speaking Chinese to a cow. Unfortunately, that is the way to go. Leave the money bags with their money. Choose competent people from day one so that they get into power. Then you can have the local standing to address them or call them to order when they are going out of the line. But if we as the youth, okay, I don't know if I can call myself the youth if the youth is between 15 to 30.
I think you can. Your youth assembly.
Okay. So if we as the youth, from day one, we contribute to put these guys in office, how do we turn around and get them out of office or to bring them to line when they are out of line? Another very disturbing thing is, I don't know if you noticed, for the past 24, 48 hours, the only thing that our youth in Nigeria have been talking about is Big Brother. It is saddening.
Can we leave that discussion?
Nobody is even bothering themselves.
Go ahead.
You understand? So, yeah, nobody is actually talking about the good governance, corruption, the insecurity that is bedeviling this country. We are going to talk about frivolities, things that cannot improve us, things that cannot make us a better people. I mean, what kind of a youth are we actually trying to be in this country?
We've seen on social media, since this NDDC, EFCC issues came to light, they've been talking about it, trying to find out how. Now, the information that we've been given with the breakdown of the 81.5 billion naira, it's information. So they get this information. How can they make good use of the information at hand right now? Mr. Mukhtar, you mentioned the information thing, that the access to good information. Now they have the information. What can they do with what they have right now as youths, using the social media platform, using their age, using everything they have to make sure that these leaders are brought to book?
All right. First of all, what I will say here is, really holding government accountable without having information is a problem. Because if you said you're going to track government spendings, you can't track what you don't know, and you can't track what you're not sure of. You must track what you're sure of and what you know. Now, the basic thing here is, when a young person is, the balance between the voter and the people that is being he votes for or being voted for, there is a huge gap. The gap in the sense that, immediately you vote for someone, when we all know that democracy is all about demand and supply, question and answer. When you vote for someone, basically, you don't see that person or you don't hear from him. The first thing he does is to change his number, change his ally, tint his car, and whatnot. So as a young person today, I really don't envy the people that don't want to put themselves in issues around governance. But the thing is, we have to hold our government accountable. But how can we hold our government accountable without information? When we have the information, I tell you what, advocacy don't happen in one day. And change will not just become miracle. The more we keep on engaging, the more we begin to get change. At some point, if you look back, there are things that don't happen previously. It happens now. Now, let me give you an example. When the Twitter world, the Facebook world, the social media world was shouting around gender-based violence, rape, and what have you, something happened. Today, as we speak, the reading of the issues around the gender-based violence bill has reached second reading in the Senate. And there are state house of assemblies, I think 2 or 3 house of assemblies in the north have passed the law. So it must not happen when you start talking about it. You must not get it the way you want it. But really, the major thing is getting the required information. I mean,
how can
today,
they get this information? This information, how can they get it? Seems like sometimes it's limited, or they have obstacles in getting that.
Yes, we have issues around FOI. We said freedom of information law. The freedom of information law is a law that gives you right to ask question, to ask government question. But the thing is, if you go to some other state, you discover that the state will tell you that we don't domesticate the law, which is a problem. But the point is, you can leverage on that kind of tools to ask government question. That is the FOI. And there are some organizations, a lot of organizations that are trying to get information to feed it to the public. We do that on I Follow the Money. Tracker does it with, Budget does it with their Tracker. PPDC does it with Budeshi. You know, PTC IJ does it with Udemy and whatnot. So the point is, you must not go out there to look for the information. The information will be provided to you by organizations that are trying to see transparency and accountability thrive in Nigeria. So if you follow them, I mean, you cannot just be on Facebook to just do what, just what you feel like doing, Twitter or something. There are other people that do a whole lot of things. Align yourself with as a young person and make Nigeria great, because we are the ones that will make Nigeria great. I know you, all of us know that we've been saying, we've been told that we will be the leaders of tomorrow. You understand? If we didn't stand up,
tomorrow never comes.
Definitely. If we did. But if we stand up to do something, definitely things will change.
Definitely, things will change. And youths being agents of change, Mr. Abdullah, how can youths become agents of change at this time with the obstacles? You know, some people have said there are so many obstacles with youths holding, making good use of social media and also holding their leaders accountable.
I think basically the youth needs to care. We need to give a damn.
Yeah.
You see, it is one thing for you to hold your phone and tweet something or go on Facebook and say something and just move on doing your thing. It's another thing for you to genuinely care. And the youth should come together to say, okay, we want to change this. So how do we change this? If it is maybe the type of leadership that we have and we need to change it, maybe from the old to the young, then how do we do that? We have to consciously and seriously look into the possibility of taking power from this old generation. We have the votes. They come to cut us to get the votes. So if we refuse to give them the votes and give you, for example, the vote, then it means we are going to have a paradigm shift from the old generation to the young generation. But we have to care and we have to give a damn. And the people that we should select should not be the youth that will come into power and be worse than the old generation that we've been complaining about. So we have to care.
Okay. All right, well, it's still Click Niger Youth Assembly, and today we are looking at how Nigerian youths can hold their leaders to account. We've been talking with Mr. Abdullah El Amin, he's a public affairs commentator, and also Mr. Mukhtar Halilu, Community Engagement Officer at Connected Development. So back to you, Mr. Abdullah. Youths have been said to some of them that some of them have those affiliations with some corrupt leaders, and so they benefit from the proceeds of corruption. How do you think youths can move away from being facilitators of corruption to being agents of change?
You are right. The youth in Nigeria today are beneficiaries of corruption. They were born into it. Anybody who is 35 years and below was actually born to see corruption as the way of life in Nigeria. A lot of people do not even know that it is corruption. A lot of people do not know that it is wrong. So they think it is a way of life. They were born into it. They were bred in it, and then they were schooled in it, and that is the most dangerous part. Maybe if the youth will start or will begin with attitudinal change towards being able to do the right thing, understanding that corruption cannot be the way of life, that corruption will annihilate and strangulate Nigeria into its knees. If we can begin with that, then I think it is going to be a good start. Then another thing is our religious institutions and our schools have to take it upon themselves to instill the discipline that is required in the body fabric of our youth. Otherwise, this trend will continue and will only get worse. Of recent, a Twitter celebrity or an Instagram celebrity was arrested in Dubai who happens to be a Nigerian for committing fraud, allegedly. Unfortunately, a lot of people in Nigeria, if you look at the trend the youths are going, is most people are wondering why he was flaunting what he stole, that was why he became a target and that was why he was arrested. They're not looking at it that, oh, he did the wrong thing. He shouldn't have even done it at all. Even if he was defrauding people and keeping a low profile, it does not make it any better. So if the youth are thinking that he should have kept cool, he shouldn't have flaunted what he stole, then you should know that the problem is actually bigger than we can imagine. So the religious institutions have to bring out programs that will target the youth and try to let them understand that living a corrupt-free life, living a decent lifestyle is better for all of us in the long run. Then our schools, sometimes from the school, our youth begin to see corruption as the way to go from the school level. So we need to have a paradigm shift in our educational system so that from the school level, youths are taught that corruption cannot be the way to go. Unfortunately, they were born into it. They grew up seeing it as a way of life. So it's going to take a toll to actually redirect them into doing the right thing.
Okay, all right. So speaking about youth, sometimes youth, they say youth shy away from holding their leaders to account because many of them do not know how the government works. So how can this problem, in your opinion, be fixed? Mr. Abdullah.
Yeah, you were breaking at some point. Please, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so how do you think the youth shying away from governance, saying it doesn't concern me, I'm on my own, they should do this, I do me. How can that problem be fixed and youth getting involved in governance and in holding leaders to account?
I think the youth need to brace up and then hold the bull by its horn. It's not easy to contest an election and get elected into office. Unfortunately, the corrupt people that are in governance have made electioneering process to be extremely expensive. And most youths in Nigeria do not have the wherewithal to withstand such rigor of getting voted into office. Sometimes if care is not taken, for you to win an election, you must lean on one of these old money bags to collect money from them to run for an office, and then they would in turn dictate to you what to do and what not to do. So I think the youth must come together as a group to agree that we are going to vote Mr. Y or Mr. X without necessarily expecting anything from that person. The youth should come together in groups or associations to bring up candidates that can stand in an election and win an election without spending so much. If that is achieved, then we can actually get people that would run into offices and get elected, and then the youth can say we have representation in office.
Okay, but do you think also that leaders in Nigeria have been responsive to the demands to the demands of openness and accountability in governance?
Hello, are you? Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear
All
you.
right. So I said, do you think the leaders in Nigeria have been responsive to the demands for openness and accountability in governance so far?
I just got some part of it.
All right. I'm saying that, do you think leaders in Nigeria have been responsive to the demands for openness and accountability in governance?
No, they have not,
Okay.
and deliberately so. Yeah, they have not, and deliberately so.
Why?
If
Why do you think so?
they are open to, if they are open to the general public as to the process and processes of delivering good governance to the people, it means everything that they do will now come under scrutiny. So deliberately, they refuse to allow people to get a clue of what they are doing in office. And even the Freedom of Information Act, you see, it is
Okay, so I was asking him, Mr. Abdullah, if he thinks that the government so far, the leaders in Nigeria, have been responsive to the demands for openness and accountability in governance. What do you think, Mr. Mukhtar?
Yeah, I was saying that even if a few years ago, they deliberately made it impossible or difficult for you to access such information. So what I was saying is, why is it impossible for a choice and get response from those agencies of government and make use of the information? Why do you have to leave your house or your office to go to an agency of government to demand to know something based on the Freedom of Information Act? Why can't it be available on a portal and say, oh, I want to know how much is budgeted for XYZ? How did this transaction went on? You want to recruit 774,000 youths in Nigeria. How is the process going? Who are the selection committee members in the state? How are they going to select? What criteria are they using? What parameters are they using? All these should be things that you can ask questions online and get responses, but that is not the case. They will ask you to come to the organization, write formally, may have lost interest, and then move on to other things.
So you're saying the process of getting this information is an obstacle to some people seeking information?
Are not in Abuja, neither in Lagos. So they are elsewhere. Now, even if you are in Abuja and Lagos, and for example, you are in Enugu or you are in Zamfara, and you want to access such information, it means you must leave your state, however the distance, travel down to Abuja or Lagos or any state where the agency resides, and then access that information. And when you get there, it's not no. There is a process, and they make these processes deliberately stringent so that it will. I'm saying that if they can make this available online, so that you can go to a portal and make your queries and get responses, I think it will be better.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah. Over to you, Mr. Mukhtar, Officer Connected Development. So, coming from you, for youths to hold their leaders accountable, what are some of the key indicators that can be used to measure if a leader is accountable to his citizens or not?
All right. So basically, I think we have, let's say, issues around five steps or 5 indicators. The first indicator is legitimacy. The second indicator is accountability. Sorry, credibility. The third indicator is accountability. And then the fourth indicator is service. And the fifth indicator is power. You must be legitimate before you be credible, and you must be credible before you be held accountable, and you must be held accountable before you provide service, and you must provide service before you have power. So basically, these are the basic indicators for me to for young people to understand that we need to hold our government accountable. In holding the government accountable, you too need to hold yourself accountable first. So by advocating for good governance, at least you should try as much as possible to be sure that you are doing the right thing, from maybe driving with license, with full document. You know, let's get the Nigeria we all dream for. Let's begin to bring you, the young people that we're building in primary school and what have you, to begin to be cautious of corruption, to begin to think around what corruption is and how corruption is. And then one of the major things is an average young person in Nigeria don't really look at governance as something he wants to do. You know, for the people that choose to join, some percentage of the people that choose to join the government, or let me say, to cut their own national cake. Now, it's high time for us to begin to think that governance is a burden where you will change the narration from what we used to know to the better Nigeria we all want to see. So it's